It's June, and you know what that means.
I'm going to expose my ignorance here and say that I actually did not know this.
I'm going to assume that a lot of people didn't, which is why we're doing a list on this.
This is actually pretty cool, guys.
It's the month nationally known as African American Music Appreciation Month. As a society, we often overlook or choose to forget that a lot of popular music throughout the history of music has come from black people. Their passion and love of art has influenced culture immensely. And it's a shame we don't recognize this more in our everyday lives. So, let's pay homage and give respect and credit to the most influential black musicians of all time.
He's Mike and I'm Tristan. Let's get this started.
Little Richard. If we're talking about influential black musicians, it seems appropriate to start with the man who has become known as the true king of rock and roll. Not only was his music a cornerstone for what would be modern rock, it was his stage presence and flamboyant, rebellious nature that helped sculpt the attitude and personality that rock and roll would become. He took his roots in gospel singing and formed a new style of singing that would become the rough screech that would become what he was known for. By his own admission, he began singing rock and roll far before he presented it to the public. He was afraid and didn't believe that people would like the new style.
He eventually began recording and writing music while working on a dreadfully boring dishwashing job.
I've done that.
We've all done something to that degree. He sent off a rough recording of his famed song, Tutti Frutti, to Specialty Records. The owner of the label took him out to New Orleans to record a more refined version of the song, and the rest was history.
Tutti Frutti went on to peak at number 17 on the pop charts. What would follow was over a year of Richard releasing smash hit after smash hit. He instantly joined the levels of Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, and other early rock icons. His influence can be heard and seen on stage in every rock musician that would follow. Even the Beatles started out covering songs written and performed by Little Richard. What a king.
Doug Pinnick. Doug Pinnick is by far the most recent musician to make this list. While not nearly as successful or well known as the others on this list either, his work in the rock band King's X played a pivotal part in the rise of the 90s grunge scene.
The implementation of drop tuning in King's X songs were a huge influence for hundreds, if not thousands, of rock bands going forward into the 90s and even today. For this reason, Doug Pinnick is widely known and respected among musicians. Ask any modern rock or metal musician that has garnered any sort of fame, and they'll tell you that they take influence heavily from Doug Pinnick. Robert Johnson. Just about everyone knows the legend that is and surrounds Robert Johnson. For years, Johnson was the laughingstock of his local Delta blues scene. After disappearing for a few years, he came back and could play the Delta blues like no one had before.
His rapid increase in skill garnered much attention, and a rumor spread that he had sold his soul to the devils at the crossroads. Johnson leaned into the rumors and put the rumors and occult into his songs.
He would go down as one of the best guitarists and one of the best blues singers of all time.
Scott Joplin. Scott Joplin is widely known as the king of ragtime. During his brief but successful career, he wrote over 100 ragtime pieces. I haven't even written one. One of his first and most successful pieces, Maple Leaf Rag, became the ragtime's first and most influential pieces. Unfortunately, he never had the financial success that should have come along with the recognition. In fact, the score to his first opera, A Guest of Honor, was confiscated in 1903 for not paying his bills.
He died in 1917 from dementia and syphilis. His death marked the end of ragtime as a major mainstream format. Over the next few years, the genre evolved into more big band and jazz style. Papa Joe Jones. Where would the art of drumming be without jazz?
I have no idea.
In truth, it wouldn't exist at all the way we know it. In fact, the modern drum set is something that came straight from the existence of jazz music.
While there were many fantastic and skilled drummers during the rise of jazz, Papa Joe Jones would have the largest influence on drumming as a whole. He's most known for his use of the hi-hat cymbals to keep time. Before him, it was common for drummers to keep a steady beat on the bass drum to keep time, as many early drum sets didn't use many cymbals. He even worked with companies to develop the modern hi-hat sound.
He also pioneered the technique of using brushes to have a softer and calmer sound on the drums. While drumming has come a long way since Joe Jones's day, the fundamentals of drumming come right from Papa himself. So you like jazz?
I do like jazz.
Jazz is great. Jazz drummers are amazing, man.
Jazz bees are cool too. Jimi Hendrix. Anytime you hear the sound of a heavily distorted guitar, you can hear the influence of Jimi Hendrix. His skill on the guitar paved the way for future generations of guitarists. The sound and innovative use of distortion and feedback would be emulated even to this day.
A feat made all the more impressive by the fact that not only could Hendrix not read music, he was also completely self-taught. The raw talent Hendrix possessed was unparalleled in the world of music at the time.
It's no wonder that the man is considered one of the most, if not the most influential guitarists of all time.
I don't know.
That's what it looks like to do a guitar, but not as good.
Bessie Smith. Bessie Smith was not only a pioneer of classic blues, but she was also one of the earliest recording artists to truly become a star.
She was born into poverty, and her parents died when she was young. To help support her orphaned siblings, she and her brother Andrew took to the Chattanooga, Tennessee streets as a singing duo. At the age of 18, she met renowned blues musician Gertrude Ma Rainey, who took her on a tour as a singer and dancer.
She gained a national following as a performer on the Theater Owners Booking Association, the leading vaudeville circuit for Black American performers during the 1920s and 30s.
Her early attempts at being a recording artist were unsuccessful until she made her recording debut teaming with pianist Clarence Williams, who has since been accused of siphoning her earnings for himself when her career took off. Bastard. That's scripted. Bastard.
With the rise of swing and jazz, so came the descent of classic blues. She was dropped from her label in 1931 and died shortly after in a fatal car crash while she was attempting to make a comeback as a swing singer.
A truly tragic and short end to what could have been an even more successful and influential career. Her influence on blues singing can still be heard today, and she's been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Blues Hall of Fame, and the Big Band and Jazz Hall of Fame. An honor where honor is due.
Nina Simone. Nina Simone, born Eunice Kathleen Wayman, took to music at a very early age. She learned to play piano and sing in her church choir at the age of 3. She was eventually classically trained at Juilliard, where she accompanied many other artists.
When I was 3, I had a Blues Clues party.
You know, still blues. Clues.
There you go. She unfortunately had to leave Juilliard when she ran out of funds to keep her there. She lived with her family and saved up enough money to be able to attend a more affordable music program. But she was rejected from the Curtis Institute of Music in Philadelphia for, you guessed it, being African American.
She instead turned to playing jazz and blues in music clubs, where she learned to infuse her classical training with the style, giving her a truly beautiful style and sound that pulls at the heartstrings.
She became labeled as a jazz singer and a blues musician, but she went on record saying in her autobiography, "If I had to be called something, it should have been a folk singer, because there was more folk and blues than jazz in my playing."
During the 1960s, she became known as the voice of the civil rights movement, writing songs like Mississippi Goddamn in response to the 1963 assassination of Medgar Evers and the Birmingham church bombing that killed 4 young African American girls. She was also an esteemed writer and activist during the time.
So, who's your favorite musician of color? Let us know in the comments below, or tweet your answers to us at OkayThankYou. And don't be a douche. It's not that hard.
It's really not.
All of our social media can be found in the description. And don't forget to check us out on Patreon for some okay-ish rewards, but they're rewards nonetheless.
Hey, what about our Wednesday live streams?
Well, they just got a whole lot more exciting because now you have the ability to call in and talk with us directly.
Wow, I'm going to do that right now.
Don't do that, we're recording. Or you can just leave a voicemail. And that number, by the way,
573-575-OKTY.
what does OKTY mean?
Okay, thank you.
Oh. It means 6589.
You mean what is the number equivalent of OKTY?
We'll see you there, and we're about to say okay, thank you. But first things first, we want our writer Robin to come up and say a few words because
he wrote this list.
He did write this list, and there's actually a really amazing story behind it. So I'm gonna step off for a bit so that Robin can talk. Okay?
Okay.
Hey, buddy.
Do you want me here?
Sure.
All right.
I like Mike.
Thanks. Scoot over. Don't touch me. I'm a famous YouTuber.
Yeah, I'm Robin. I wrote the list. Yeah, I was initially, with everything going on in the world right now, I wanted to give some voice to some of my influences from black musicians, because I'm not very well versed and well informed about laws and the justice system and everything like that. But what I am informed in is art and music. So I'm giving some voice to the influential black artists of our times because there's a lot of them, and we should recognize that more.
And you actually, you also learned that this was the month of...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't actually know that that June, since the 70s, Jimmy Carter made it an official month of African American music appreciation, which we've never heard of and
we need
is
to.
Never celebrated, which is just a crime. So,
Well, thank you very much, Robin. Robin is one of our main writers, and he does amazing work.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, thank you.